Saturday morning, August 28th, 2021, and we were up before the crack of dawn today. We're on our way to the U.S. Oval at the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base for a couple of North Country honor flights. Our next stop will be in Plattsburgh. This is approximately 6:15 in the morning, and we're at the Oval, and as you can see, we're far from being the first one here. Folks have arrived early and are continuing to arrive. A lot of law enforcement personnel, a lot of escort bikers, people arriving with their flags flying all the way from Scioto. We've heard the sirens in the background for the past 5 minutes, and this entourage is arriving. Looks like Essex County Sheriff's Department involved in this one. And if there weren't enough motorcycles here already, they have got another large contingent, and they're bringing in the official bus. I'm not sure what they're going to do about that bus, because normally it's pretty well filled with 14 veterans going, but today there are 28 veterans going. We're going to try to talk to someone who may know what's going on. We'll see if this young lady is available. Excuse me, ma'am, do you have any idea what all this commotion is about?
I was in my kitchen this morning getting a cup of coffee, and all of these state police cars and motorcycles started going down the road. What a great, great, great feeling.
And who are you, young lady?
I'm Janet Dupree, I'm Director of Operations for North Country Honor Flight.
That was my next question. Okay, Director of Operations, that sounds pretty important.
Well, it's fun. Let's put it that way. It's my retirement gig. It's been really busy with the 4 flights coming so close together. Larry Aber and I have done about 40 interviews in a little over 3 weeks. So it's been a great time. There's nothing any better than sitting at a dining room table with a veteran and listening to their stories and having the opportunity to get to know them. And but crunching it up in that type of time frame was a little bit challenging, but hey, Larry and I are still talking to each other, so we think that's really good.
Okay, you got a bee that's kind of fond of you right now. Don't swat him in my direction. So do you and Larry go together, or do you go separate, or how does that work?
We went together. It was a lot of traveling, and we went together, and we became a really good team, kind of bouncing off each other, and one of us would write down the information, and the other would be visiting with the veteran, and we'd switch it off depending on what the veteran's thoughts were. So it was good, really good combination.
Did he sing in the car while you were traveling?
He did not. A lot of people have asked me that, but I couldn't get a single vocal part out of him except for chit chat.
Well, Larry is certainly a hard worker too, but it's a little different this one here. 28 instead of 14. How are they all going to fit in that bus?
We have 2 buses.
2 buses, aha.
Everything is doubled up this time. The biographies are doubled up, and the buses are doubled up, and the second bus is just pulling in. And it's going to be different. This is our first run at this kind of we'll see what happens. I'll be better primed for September, I think, once we get through this one.
This is the initial one that you've done this way, so it's a learning experience as we're going along. Now, are you a flight director today?
No, Mary Barber
okay.
and Barry Finnegan are the 2 flight leaders. Larry Eber and I will be going in September.
Okay. All right. So even though you're going in September, you still interviewed all the ones for this flight. Usually it's the flight leaders that do the interviewing.
And then Mary did the first flight, but then when we found out that we didn't have airplanes and we needed a second flight, she had some issues with help with their family, and Larry and I said, hey, we'll jump in, we'll take care of it, and then we've done our 2 since then. So it's, you know, we all work together as a team, and Mary did some. Mary and her husband did some. I'm not saying we did them all. We really, all of us work together as a team, and that's consistent, and it has been since I've been part of Honor Flight.
Okay, will the buses both fill up at the same time, or will one fill up and then leave and then they do another one? How are we doing it today?
The way we're doing this today is that we will have each veteran, I will read the bios as I
28?
All 28. As I announce their name, their guardian, and the veteran will start to walk toward the bus, and I will read the bio as they're walking. And then they'll load on the bus, and we'll just do it until we have both buses filled, and then we're out of here.
Okay, because normally you read the bios, then there's a ceremony as they all walk to the bus. Yeah. So that'll happen in one fell swoop this time.
There are things we've just had to combine. It hasn't been what we wanted. I would have written longer bios. You know how Calvin, you've been to enough of these. You know how I love to talk about the veterans, but you know, I've had to kind of cut them down a little bit, although I think I hope I've gained the essence of every veteran and given him the respect that he or she needs. And by the way, we have one woman, Korean War veteran, on the flight, but
certainly not our first lady, but
no, not our first. But it's nice to have. It's always nice to have a lady among the mix, and so
it's different at the airport too, right?
It's different at the airport. Spectators will not be allowed. We're not going to the terminal. We're going to one of the hangars. They call it the nose dock. I'm not a military person, so I just kind of listen and try and figure it all out. And once the buses get to that, I think it's Arizona, Arkansas, as they peel off to go there to the hangar, spectators will not be allowed in. And actually, they're far enough back on the runway, the planes are there now, that people won't be able to see them take off. So that's a little disappointing. It's always nice to have the crowds at the airport, and it will be the same thing when they come in tonight. Anybody who's going to be here to welcome them home, and we hope there's a good group, will have to be here at the Oval. They will not be able to meet with them when they come in. They come in, they get off the plane, they get on the buses, and the buses will bring them back here.
Okay, so there's one more double flight that's coming up in September. What's the date?
September 18th.
18th, day before my anniversary.
Ah.
What a wonderful way to celebrate my anniversary right here.
Great send-off.
Okay, anything else, Janet, that I haven't been smart enough to ask you that I should know about right now?
I don't think so. Thanks as always. You're always here, and we appreciate it, and we love. And I can't tell you, I've heard so many people. We've talked to a lot of Vermont folks who talk about seeing the videos that you put up on through the internet, and how much they enjoy them, and it has inspired a lot of people to take this trip. So thank you for your service.
Oh well, I'm been very fortunate to be able to have made them all, including that first one out of Albany, and you know we've been fortunate to be here every time, and you know it's something I don't want to miss. You know, I feel we have to be here, and you know with things happening in the world right now, I think we understand even more how we should respect and treat our veterans.
Absolutely, they're why we have our freedom, and we've got to always remember that. And try to do it every day.
Thanks, Janet.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I just finished talking with Janet Dupree. Now I'm going to find out what's really happening here.
What's really happening?
What's your name?
Larry Hebert.
And she's the guy you were talking about. You're the guy she was talking about.
Yes, I'm sure Janet. Hopefully it was good things she was saying about me too.
She was, except that you didn't sing in the car with her when you were traveling to see the vets. She was disappointed.
No, we did a lot of time. We got kind of close in the car for sure. We did about, I don't know, maybe 40 or so interviews all over the North Country to get these veterans on this flight today. So yeah, plus we did interviews for this flight, and we did interviews for the flight we're going on September 18th.
So you've already started on the 18th.
Yeah, well, we got all the interviews done for the September 18th, so we're ahead of the game.
Oh, right.
We are ahead of the game.
You're on the ball here.
Yeah, we try to be.
So how far back was it that you guys learned that you couldn't get the 4 dates, that you kind of had to double them up like this?
That was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That's
It was really close. We never got the actual go-ahead from the Honor Flight Network till I want to say it was, when was that, July sometime, before we actually got the okay that we could fly, period. And then we had to make all the arrangements with the airlines and everything, and that's when we found out that, hey, I guess we're not going to go in October 9th and 30th because they couldn't guarantee us a flight. So that's when we started looking into to charter the planes that we got now. So anyway, so we did a lot of scrambling to get the interviews done and all that stuff done so we could get 2 flights out. 28 veterans now instead of normally we do 15 veterans, and now we got 28 veterans going on this flight. So it's a experimental, I guess. It's the first time we ever did 2 planes at one time. So it's we'll see how it goes. Janet and I are using this as a,
You'll be a lot smarter in September.
and we're gonna see everything that went wrong in this flight. Hopefully nothing goes wrong in the flight, but we're gonna use this flight as to see what we're gonna do in our flight September 18th. So should be good.
Okay. There's things that happen besides what happens up here. All the work that goes in up here. There's things that happen in Washington D.C. too.
There is.
When they get off the planes, there are people there to greet them. And
There's going to be people there to greet them. We're going into the FBO, the Fixed Base Operations place. We're not actually going into the exact airport in Dulles. So we'll be going into a different hangar for the charter planes and stuff like that. So yeah, that's all going to be new for us too. So supposedly the buses are supposed to meet us where the planes are, and supposedly they're supposed to get off the plane and right onto our charter bus and stuff like that. So
that little girl who runs around with a sign welcoming the veterans probably won't be there at this time.
She probably won't be there this time. Not sure. I doubt it. But
that'd be
you
such
never
a
know.
disappointment. That
I don't. She's going to be disappointed for sure.
And of course, she's 2 years older than she was the last time North Country Honor Flight was there. So
yeah, I don't know what arrangements they made up in Dallas, so it could be. She could be. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Nobody knows yet, I guess.
They'll find out when they get there. So
Yeah.
the plane's leaving roughly the same time, or there'll be a gap?
The plane right now, our plane leaving from here? Yeah, it's scheduled to leave, I think, at 9:30 in the morning, 9:30.
Both of them?
Both of them, and they're scheduled to come back in around 8:45 tonight. That's the plan.
So they'll be playing tag all the way to D.C.?
I guess. Yeah, they will be, I guess.
Well, you picked a nice morning to do this. Temperature is about
always-
60 degrees. It's nice, pleasant.
I always worry about the weather. You know what I mean? You never know what you're going to get for weather. And it's so many people that come out for this thing. It's such an amazing event. And you just pray for that it's not going to rain that day.
Yeah.
And then you have it goes. We've been lucky. Barry says we've been lucky for 31 flights. We've been lucky. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I always worry about it.
How's the D.C. weather? Is it going to be hot and muggy down there, or what have you heard?
I haven't really checked it, to tell you the truth.
So you're not going? What do you
I'm not
care?
going, so. But
Barry and Mary worry about it.
I imagine it's going to be pretty warm down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Barry, that I should ask you about here? Before we
I
get
don't think
going?
so. Everything's here. Hopefully we have a good send-off ceremony here. We're getting ready to start it up in another 25 minutes or so. So, yeah, it's people are starting to come in.
Starting to come in.
Starting to come in.
Yeah.
They're coming in.
What time did you get here this morning?
I was here at 4:30.
4:30.
I was here at 4:30 setting up all the sound and all that stuff and helping everybody else set up stuff. And 4:30. Yeah, it takes time to put everything together and take care of all the glitches that happen. In the meantime, you need a little buffer there for take care of anything that might not be right.
Yeah, I woke up at 10:05 and I thought I was getting up early.
Yeah, I wasn't the only one here at 4:30. Actually, I got here at 4:30 and there was people here before me. So setting up cones and everything, getting ready to the parking lot, ready for parking and stuff. So yeah.
This doesn't just happen automatically. It's a lot of preparation.
There's a lot of preparation that goes into this before we start. We have a lot of meetings about it, and you got to get a hold of a lot of people to make things happen and correlate with different people. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that you see that leads up to this day. You know, like Janet and I spending all that time on the road and doing interviews and making sure the IDs are going to match with this and that, and we get shirts and hats and jackets, and you drop the hats off. You got to bring the shirts and jackets back and send them to Lorman's that do the screen printing, put their name on them and the conflict they were in. and then we got to get them back to the veterans. So there's a lot of things that happens a lot before we actually fly. So yeah, it's a big undertaking, but we managed to get it done.
So
We have some great volunteers.
and we'll get 56 veterans out this year. Now, is there still 150 on that waiting list, or does that include the 150 include those 56?
No, we have about 207 on the waiting list
After this or right now?
right now.
So after this, we'll have just.
And then usually what happens is after we pull the ceremony, and there's people that come to the ceremony that haven't been here before, and we get more applications after the ceremony. Like when I go out, plus when I go out and entertain at different fairs and festivals in Canada, I always talk about the honor flight. I always bring applications with me. I always do all that stuff, so I hand out applications there. So, but we usually get a lot of more applications once the ceremony is done. People all of a sudden they want to go on the flight, or they know somebody that wants to go on a flight, so that's what happens there. So even though we send out, like last year we lost 90 veterans didn't go on the flight. You know, and we lost 6 flights. And this year we couldn't get 6 flights in because the airlines couldn't meet it. We didn't charter enough planes because it costs a lot more of us to charter these planes this time. But anyway, that's what happens. So we'll get more applications, I assume, when this takes place.
Yeah, so you had 90 people you were anticipating sending. You sent 0.
Send 0.
This year you're going to send 28 and 28, 56.
56.
Yeah,
sending
so
this
you
year.
still got almost 40 that were scheduled last year that won't go this year.
And the applications, kept coming in. So.
And you got to prioritize those too.
We look at the World War II veterans, we look at the Korean War veterans, we look at the Vietnam veterans, we look at their health conditions, the whole thing before how we pick people to get on the flights. We try to get the people that really need to go on the flight first,
right,
and get them to Washington, get them the experience of going to visit their memorials. So that's what we do.
Okay, so if anybody's interested, how do they find the North Country Honor Flight?
Well, you can go on North Country Honor Flight. We have a website. It's called northcountryhonorflight.org. Okay, they can get a hold of us that way, and if they go on there, they can download an application process and stuff like that for the veteran and guardian, and they can fill it out and mail it. There's an address on there, P.O. Box 2644, Plattsburgh, New York. They can send it to us, and we'll put them on the list with everybody else.
Okay. What is your title before I go? Do you have a title?
I don't really have a title. I'm going to be the flight leader of the next flight. Well, actually, it was supposed to be flight leader, and Janet was supposed to be assistant with me, but we're both going to go on a plane, separate planes, so we're kind of both be flight leaders on this one. So that's only my title on this thing. Other than that, I'm just a volunteer that helps Honor Flight get this operation off the road, off the ground.
Keep it up, Larry.
Yeah, I will.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody wants to talk to this guy. He's answered 8 calls while I've been standing here trying to put the microphone in his face. What's your name?
Barry Finnegan.
Now, what do you do here?
I'm the executive director of the Honor Flight, as you can tell.
Leader, one of the flight leaders today.
Yeah, one of the flight leaders today.
Okay, can't you guys get this right? It's supposed to be 4 or 5 flights a year. Didn't do any last year. What's your excuse here, man?
Yeah, well, we let that little sickness thing bother us a little bit, and actually they told us we couldn't fly.
Right.
So when National Honor Flight put a moratorium on, we had no choice. It was out of our hands, which made the decisions easy on us.
Oh yes, that way you got
So yeah, we didn't have to be the bad people. Yeah. So now that we're back on, they've allowed us to fly, and we're kind of in a window. You know, Clinton County is one of the few state counties that are still yellow, and everybody else is red and orange, and we're getting lucky here. So we're going to take advantage of the window and get our veterans down there and get this trip done. Some people just can't wait anymore. It's way too long. They've been waiting, and they can't wait anymore.
So you got this one, and then 3 weeks from now, it's the 18th. We're heading out again, and that'll be it for the year. But
right,
you've had to. And just talking with Larry, he told us the timetable here. Where up to about 3-4 weeks ago, you didn't know we were going to be doing it this way.
Exactly. It all happened quick. Once National lifted that moratorium, it was time to get to work. We had some of it done, but I can tell you, Larry Hebert and Janet Dupree and Mary Barber did a wonderful job of getting all these veterans ready to go. And the next flight isn't too far behind it. We're semi-ready for that one.
Well, Larry said he's done the interviews.
Yeah, it'll come together quickly. So, this is a learning experience with twice the number of vets that we usually send. We're going to learn from it. We'll do better next time. And let's just keep our fingers crossed that everything stays the same so we can do it.
Well, one of the things that Judy and I saw when we went about 3 years ago was that bus driver in Washington, D.C. He can't fit everybody in that one bus. So that's going to be maneuvering through the streets of Washington a little tough.
Well, we've doubled everything, and we got 2 buses, so now we'll have 2 drivers. And some of the changes are, we don't have a police escort. The park police, with everything that went on between January 6th and the movements that are happening, they just decided that's not a part of their operations anymore. So we're worried about traffic going through, but we'll make it work.
From post 20.
So you'll be leaving here at 9:30, is it?
9:30 the flight leaves. Yeah, we're leaving here. We go over to Nose Dock 1. The buses pull right into it.
So no
And
clearance?
then,
They haven't got to clear through anything? They're already pre-cleared or what?
The actual flight company does the security.
Okay.
So our pilots and our flight attendant will be our security guards as well.
Okay.
Simple process.
You got to make it work. You got to make
That's right.
it happen.
Yep.
Okay. I know you are busier than that proverbial one-arm paper hanger. Anything else you want to tell us before I let you go?
No, just thanks to everybody in the North Country for supporting this whole mission. It's been amazing. Even on the layoff, we were still getting donations, just like everything was normal, and we were doing things. So to finally get back to doing things, we're just over the top excited.
Okay, so let's hope we have 4 successful flights this year.
Thank you, Calvin.
Thank you,
We appreciate everything you guys do, as always.
Thank you. Somewhere there may be drone footage of what it looks like here. There's a drone sitting over there in one of the tables, and it's supposed to be in the air shortly. Because without a drone, it's kind of hard to get a true feel here. All you can see is the first few rows of the people who have gathered here on this Saturday morning for this double honor flight. The veterans are here. Usually I am smart enough to read the minutes of the honor flight meetings and get an idea who is leaving before I get here, but this has been almost 2 years since we've done this. It didn't occur to me till I got here that I should have been reading that list, and I'm sure if you're watching this, you know somebody or maybe several somebodies who are going on today's honor flight. The motorcyclists have been involved right from that very first one, and we mention it probably every time we're here. That first one was out of Albany as they learned how to operate this, and Gordy Little and I hopped on the bus and rode down to Albany. Then the Barbers gave us a ride back home, but it's like the Menard boy from Brandon Menard from Moore's is here working for Channel 5, so a lot of flights, and that first one with those guys on the motorcycles, it was a cold morning when they took off, and that rode their bikes all the way from here down to Albany, and we have to applaud their fortitude to doing that. American Legion Post 912 is here, ready for the flag ceremony. This will start promptly at 7 a.m. They have a timetable, and they'll try to get through everything in a timely manner. Normally, as we said, they would read the bios on the folks, then they would be seated, and then there would be a separate ceremony or they make it to the bus. Today, to speed things along, they will read the bio, and then they will proceed immediately to the bus. So we'll try to keep out of the way, but still be able to get the photos of the video of what's happening. And sometimes it's a challenge to do both. Do the video and stay out of everybody's way. So we'll try to do both.
Just an amazing job, North Country. You guys are awesome.
All right, over 400 veterans will have gone out after today.
For bearing with us during that little break we had. It's hard to believe, but it's been almost 2 years since we've flown. We've been very much looking forward to it, and we're sure happy to see everybody back here. Plus, so yeah, thank you all for coming out this morning. We really appreciate it. We've got 28 veterans that are off for a day of a lifetime, and we can't wait to get them down there and get them back home safely. So we look forward to that. Of course, every flight we have different sponsors that seem to be popping up, and we're very, very fortunate to have that happen. This time, Niscoba has sponsored this entire flight. They've done, they've done numerous fundraisers over the year, and then last year came with the a golf tournament that paid for the entire flight. So we can't thank them enough, and thank everybody in Niscoba for contributing to that. We appreciate that. You know, it's been so long since we have flown that a lot of things have happened. You know, we could go on with all the changes that have occurred. Hopefully we're on the good side of all that, and we're back to flying normally. So everybody knows September 18th, we're going to do this all over again. So we'd love to see everybody back here again. One of the things that happened is after our last flight, we lost one of our volunteers. And as you all know, Honor Flight is one big family. And we had a fellow by the name of Dennis Musso, who was a huge part of Honor Flight right from the beginning. He was here on day one and did just about everything he was asked. The bad part, he's on a vacation down in Australia on a trip of a lifetime for him. And there was a tragic occurrence, and Dennis passed away down in Australia. So we're dedicating this flight to Dennis Musso, and we'd like to thank him for everything he did. I'm going to hand you over to a real professional. Once again, Tom Halleck is just an awesome person that comes to us all the time and is always here for us. So from Mountain Lake PBS, Mr. Tom Halleck.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It is so great to see everyone back here again. We are so happy to have you here and so pleased that you are part of the send-off this morning. We are going to get things underway with the national anthem, and we are so proud to have Glenn Miller here this morning to sing the national anthem. And then please, well, most of you are standing anyway, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. But Glenn Miller.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Glenn. We now have troops 46 and 39 from Beekmantown and Plattsburgh for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. 2.
Thank you. I would now like to welcome New York State Assemblyman Billy Jones.
Well, all I can say, we want to keep the show moving on. Thank you so much for showing up here for the veterans. This is always a wonderful event. It's been 2 years, 2 long years. Let's give our veterans a big round of applause. Thank you so much for everything that you did. And I think we should give the organizers of this event, they're all standing back here, and many through the crowd that gave donations, that organized this. This was not easy to put on. So give them a big round of applause. Let's have a great day. Thank you, veterans. Have the trip of a lifetime.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Now, Michael Cashman, Town Supervisor, with a few words.
3 things. 1, welcome back. 2, God bless our veterans and God bless our troops. Let's have a fantastic day, folks.
Thank you, Michael. As Barry mentioned, we are so proud to have NYSCOBA as our flight sponsor this year. Please welcome John Roberts.
Thank you, everybody. On behalf of all the correction officers, correction officer sergeants throughout the state, we are very honored to be able to support this event today. We're happy the event has returned, especially with last year's unforeseen circumstances of the world shutting down on us. It's an honor to be here today supporting these troops that are heroes for all of us, to be able to have events like these. With that being said, the Honor Flight's one of the most important programs in the area. It allows these brave men to visit the national cemeteries erected in their efforts. It's an absolute least we can do to honor these individuals. And NYSCOBA is very honored to do this today. So thank you to them, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, John. It's now my pleasure to introduce Gary Liberty, who is going to pay tribute to the veterans we have lost since our last flight.
Good morning. At this time, we remember the veterans that we've lost since the last flight almost 2 years ago. This includes 42 veterans that had flown with us already, and 10 veterans that were on the list waiting to go. So at this time, please face the flag for the gun salute, followed by the playing of taps, and concluding with Amazing Grace. May each of these worthy veterans rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. We want to mention that the flag is at half-staff in honor of the service members who we lost in Afghanistan. I wanted to point that out. Now, a closing prayer from Mike Farrell.
Good morning. It's an honor for me to deliver the closing prayer for today's ceremony. Please allow me a minute or two to honor our vets on flights 32 and 33. When George King emailed today's itinerary, he attached with it a Latin adage, Si vis pacem para bellum. Translated means, if you want peace, prepare for war. Each of these men being honored today did exactly that when they signed on the dotted line and then donned the uniform. Today, we fully recognize, respect, and give thanks for their commitment to God and country. The God of the stars, or the country of the stars and stripes, of the red, white, and blue. Today is your day to be honored. It's our day to say thank you. May I ask all of you gathered here today, hold nothing back. We cheer for our teams in football and hockey, but these are our home team here today. Hold nothing back in appreciation and applause, please. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, I thank you for each soul gathered here today. May your Spirit touch us all as we thank you for the veterans here on Flight 32 and 33. We ask your hand of guidance through each second of this day, that each of these warriors feel your blessing and our thanks. Fill their hearts with your love, and if needed, closure from days gone by. I pray this in Jesus' name. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. It's now my honor to introduce the Director of Operations, Janet Dupree, for the biographies of our veterans as they are going to receive their travel orders and board the Honor Flight bus. Janet?
Thank you, Tom. As I prepare to read the bios for each of our veterans, I want to just do a quick reminder to all the guardians. When we announce the veteran's name and he or she begins the walk toward the bus, The guardian is to escort the veteran. That's your job for the day. You're tied at the hip here for the rest of the day. And we're going to make this as smooth as we can. Obviously, it's different than we've done in the past, but we're just delighted that we're all here today. Carl Baggs, Navy, 1964 to 1968, Vietnam. Hold your applause till after I read the bio so that he can hear it on the way by. A mechanic on board ships, Carl started planes while they were still chained to the ship. Then someone would unchain the plane for takeoff. Carl started the plane, someone unchained it before the flight crew arrived. The plane taxied with Carl at the wheel, so he slammed on the brakes. The flight boss wasn't happy, but Carl was happy when the flight crew took over. Carl Baggs. Romeo Barrier. Army National Guard, 1967 to 1993, Vietnam. Basic training at Fort Knox led Romeo to many exercises, including red-eye missile launchers. After 7 years, he joined the Plattsburgh 962nd Ordnance Company. Sent to Germany, they lived in tents heated with very small coal stoves. Romeo saw many countries and U.S. bases, retiring after 24 years of service to our country. Romeo Barrier. I should have said it in the beginning, but I think all the veterans know. This first group, the first 14, will be getting on the Honor Flight bus. The second group will be getting on the Osage Valley bus. Sorry. Donald Carr, Army, 1955 to 1963, Vietnam. Don was an airborne division instructor in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. They were the eyes and ears on night missions counting enemy vehicles. Squad leader Don led airborne rangers on night parachuting from 20 static line jump helicopters, dropping 400 feet, searching for the enemies. Donald Carr. Gordon Andy Traver. Army, 1968 to 1972, Vietnam. Gordon's the veteran guardian for Donald. Andy graduated from college, married the next day, and enlisted in the Army the third day. He completed military intelligence and Vietnam language courses, and with 5 others settled in the middle of nowhere in Vietnam. Isolated, never safe, eating more rice in a year than anybody should in a lifetime, the intelligence operators returned stateside. Andy Traver. Donald Cassidy, Air Force, 1947 to 1967, Cold War. Don was shift leader decrypting top secret messages. Air Force inspectors made unannounced checks for security. Don traveled to Japan, France, Germany, England, Turkey, Greece, Italy, and in North Africa, he married his first wife at a landfill. Don said he should have known that marriage wasn't going to work out, but he's been happily married to Annette for many, many years. Donald Cassidy. Carl Duford, Air Force, 1962 to 1986, Vietnam. Carl worked presidential security from 1969 to 1973. In Vietnam, as a military policeman, he was responsible for securing the perimeter with K-9 dogs. One night, Carl prevented the Viet Cong from overrunning the base along the perimeter. For his action and bravery, he received the Bronze Medal of Valor. Carl Glenn Elmore, Navy, 1970 to 1991, Vietnam. Admiral Thomas Mattingly chose Glenn to work with the Space and Navy Warfare Systems Command. The joint cooperating focus with Marines monitored electronic frequency durations and satellite communications. I have no idea what that means. The Admiral became an Apollo 16 astronaut. Glenn spent a year on Diego Garcia Island in the Indian Ocean. He said it was a choice duty. Glenn Elmore. Paul Gardner. Army, 1967 to 1970, Vietnam. After basic training, Paul went into Vietnam in 1968. Paul was in country for 10 offenses, the 1969 Tet counteroffense and counteroffenses phases 4, 5, and 6. Once stateside, the Army raised his life insurance to $15,000. How nice of the Army. Paul was discharged on August 28th, 1970. Paul Arlene Gosnell, Air Force, 1952 to 1956, Korean. At 18, Arlene's dad signed for her to join the Air Force. She was in Texas, Wyoming, and England. 3 months short of being 21, her dad refused to sign for her reenlistment. Arlene reenlisted, met Robert in Westover, and they married in Guam. She retired from Plattsburgh Air Force Base in 1990 after a long career with the Department of Defense. Arlene, I know it's a tough assignment, but you're in charge of these 27 men today. Edward Hall, Army, 1953 to 1956, Korean. Ed served with the 7th Division, 17th Regiment, above the 38th parallel. There were no towns, just the compound. He guarded millions of dollars of military payment certificates, watching the color of certificates so the black market couldn't get a hold of them. Ed was issued a .45 pistol. He didn't know how it worked, whether it was loaded or not, or what to do with it. Edward Hall. Homer Lemaire, Army, 1950 to 1953, Korean. Homer Buck was a parachutist with the 11th Airborne Division, Korea. Stateside, they parachuted into Fort Drum during a snowstorm. Several men were injured, but Buck fortunately wasn't hurt. Stationed in Tennessee, Buck enjoyed the Grand Ole Opry and the Nashville bars. Coming home to Tupper Lake, he hitchhiked or hopped a train. Homer Lemaire. David Primo, Navy, 1952 to 1966, Korean. On the ship USS Coral Sea, David split the catapults, launching aircraft and bringing them back in. One day in Cuba, an airplane crashed, the ship caught on fire. David wanted to ride a camel. The camel's owner said, "What can we trade for it?" Dave gave the owner his sunglasses and got his camel ride. Floyd Rock, Army, 1965-1967, Vietnam. On one Delta Huey helicopter, Floyd was mechanic crew chief and door gunner with an M60 machine gun. He trained infantry to load and unload from the Huey. In 1967, Tu Hoa Air Force Base, Floyd flew the Huey, hauling troops of the 111th Airborne and picking up wounded soldiers. Floyd Rock. James Versaput, Air Force, 1971 to 1975, Vietnam era. Caught between the closing doors, Jim sustained back surgery, injury, I'm sorry, let's start this over. Caught between the closing doors, Jim sustained a back injury in the black hangar of Plattsburgh Air Force Base. 1972, Jim was defueling a plane to a fuel truck when a short caught the truck on fire. Laying on the ground, he used all 500 gallons and the jet fuel fire extinguisher. Jim was awarded Safety Officer of the Month, James Versipur. William Wolford, Air Force, 1953 to 1973, Korea. Bill was a pilot of KB-50J, C-130E, and C-141 planes. During the Pakistan-Anaheim War, Bill was tasked to bring civilians out in his C-130. A two-star general handed 110 civilians up to Bill, loading into a plane designed for 30 passengers. William Wolford. Robert Woods, Army, 1950 to 1952, Korean. Bob went to Germany on the USS Langford. Sailors slept on fold-down cots with a thin piece of canvas cloth. Cot stacked 5 high. Turning over, the sailor hit the guy above him. Carrying Class A uniforms on backpacks, they wiggled items from the packs. Hanging clothes on pipes brought a quick announcement, no hanging clothes on pipes. Bob Woods. That's our first group, our first plane of veterans. Let's give them one more round of applause. Start with flight number 33, Albert Barco, Army, 1961 to 1964, Vietnam. At boot camp, the sergeant asked for a volunteer driver. Al raised his hand. The guy next to him said, "You never volunteer." As the soldiers got through the swamp training with mud up to their necks, Al was totally dry, driving the Jeep in a 2.5-ton truck. He had TDY in Verdun, France, and went 40 miles to visit Germany. Albert Barkham. Alan Bobrian, Marines, 1966 to 1970, Vietnam. While Alan was serving in Okinawa, he met 3 people he'd gone to high school with. A ship-to-shore radio operator. He was among the Marines transported from California aboard the USS Tulare. The ship safely delivered the Marines and cargo to the Da Nang harbor. Alan finished his tour as a driver and radio man in Okinawa. Alan Bobrian. Thomas Davison, Marines, 1970 to 1972, Vietnam. While in Okinawa on guard duty, Tom met up with his cousin. They separated as Tom transferred to patrol the Ho Chi Minh Trail. At Freedom Hill, the cousins reconnected. A military police radio man, Tom used a short wire to call in air raids and bombings at night. Tom said they were sitting ducks in the Da Nang as Vietnam Cong owned the night. Thomas Davison. Richard Flora, Army, 1966 to 1969, Vietnam. As crew chief, Richard oversaw repairs and flew on helicopters that had 4mm 60 machine gun outriggers, 2 on each side. In Germany, Rich served with the 9th Helicopter Support Cavalry and the 24th Infantry Division. Army helicopters flew on one side of the Czechoslovakian border, and the Czechs flew on the other side. Richard Flora. Earl Guerin, Navy, 1956 to 1959, Vietnam. Earl served on the USS Saratoga CVA-60 aircraft carrier.
They were stationed at the entrance to the Mediterranean. Earl did general repair and maintenance and stood watch for hours. The Saratoga tied up in Cannes, France during the 1958 Lebanon crisis. All sailors were directed to manned battle stations. Earl Garrett. Oliver Hickok, Marines, 1956-1975, Vietnam. After 4 years in the Air Force, Oliver joined the Marines, 3rd Division. Oliver took part in 15 field operations. In February 1968, he was hit in the shoulder, back, and knee during the Tet Offensive. Medevac to Da Nang, to Japan, and home to recover. Oliver is a 2021 National Purple Heart Hall of Honor, 2-time Purple Heart recipient. Oliver James Knapp, Navy, 1958-1960, Vietnam. James enlisted in the Navy in Philadelphia. He was sent to the U.S. Naval Station in Newport, Rhode Island, where he graduated from Radio Man A School. Jim served on the USS McGowan as a radio man and was later switched to gunnery clerk aboard the USS Springfield until his honorable discharge. James Knapp. Harry Landry, Armor, 1967 to 1969, Vietnam. Harry was a 1st Air Cavalry fire crewman and squad leader. Harry and 2 others were critically wounded by open fire while being medevaced. Harry was in the hospital for 8 months. With several medals, Harry joins his World War I grandfather and World War II father in a family of heroes. Harry Landry.
Also known as Louis.
Gerald LaValle, Army, 1961 to 1963, Vietnam. Gerald was in the Signal Corps stationed in Orleans, France. With security clearance, he was at the headquarters for communications and information systems. If messages came in with a piece missing, the entire message was resent. Living on post, his wife Darlene was with him for 14 months. Gerald enjoyed visiting Belgium, Holland, Spain, and Germany. Gerald LaValle. Ronald Miller, Army, 1967 to 1970, Vietnam. Ron was a general vehicle repairman with the 815th Combat Engineers. Ron said they spent lots of time on guard duty, protecting the machinery and perimeter known as Engineer Hill, Peiku. There were 2 machinery fields. They'd fix machinery in the day and stand guard duty at night. Not much sleep during a long year in Vietnam. Ronald Miller. James Page, Air Force, 1962 to 1966, Vietnam. Jim entered the Air Force at 17. He went to Texas to become a jet mechanic. As a heavy equipment operator, he was sent to Payro, France to extend the runway. This Georgia boy was sent to Thule, Greenland, blowing and plowing snow to keep the runway open. On to Plattsburgh Air Force Base with more snow and operating heavy equipment. Jim became a final resident of Plattsburgh. James Page. Eugene Sears, Air Force, 1955 to 1956, Vietnam. Gene was a photographer and film developer stationed in Sumter, South Carolina, and Little Rock, Arkansas. In the days of good old-fashioned cameras, he took photographs, developed film in a dark room, and made prints. Gene filmed in various locations and situations, often taking pictures from airplanes. And I want to add, he is now happily a 4-time non-Hodgkin's lymphoma survivor. Dale Stevens, Air Force, 1968 to 1989, Vietnam era. Dale served 20 years, the first decade in administration and the second decade in flight management. 1980 to 1985, Dale was stationed at Plattsburgh Air Force Base. Discharged from Myrtle Beach, he retired in Plattsburgh. Dale has a collection, an amazing collection, of 400 patches, most of which were from aviators, some from enlisted personnel. Dale Stevens. Michael Zeminski, Air Force, 1963 to 1967, Vietnam. An aerial photographer, Mike flew many reconnaissance missions. He was stationed at Westover Air Force Base, Massachusetts, then transferred to Plattsburgh. Mike's mission entailed filming military accidents, airplane crashes, and even murders. Mike met a local Keysville girl. He and Marge will soon celebrate their 57th wedding anniversary. That concludes our biography for our 28 amazing hero veterans. They're getting on the bus. You got to make sure you clap loud enough for every single one of them to hear you. Let's hear it.
Thank you for attending this morning, everyone. There is a change this year. We're not going to the main terminal of the airport. You are certainly welcome to escort the buses. They're going to the FBO building, which is located at 1 Alabama Avenue. So going down Arizona, you're going to be making a left down there. You're going down New York Road and making a left on Arizona and going down to FBO if you'd like to escort the buses. We are encouraging everyone to please come back tonight at 8:30 right here at the Oval. This is where we're going to welcome them back. Please turn out and welcome our heroes back home after their memorable day in D.C. We would like to see you all here tonight, 8:30. Enjoy your day. Thank you very much for coming. This is one of the best crowds we've ever had, and we so appreciate you taking the time. See you tonight.
We're going to keep our camera running because the head of that entourage escort is immediately in front of us here. Sorry about that bumpy walk. As was mentioned earlier, normally we would now proceed or actually race to the airport to try to get this escort, honor flight escort, has it arrived. However, circumstances are different this year, so they will not be going to the terminal. wrap up our coverage here when the last vehicle comes around the corner, part of this parade honoring the August 28th North Country Honor Flights. I see one car coming with some flags flying, and that'll be our last one. So this here will wrap it up. Thanks for watching, and for those of you who viewer-supported Hometown Cable, we're proud to have covered every one of these honor flights thus far. Thanks for watching.
Take care, Mr. Castag.